welcome to Good Morning Sibos. I am Nadine Dereza.
And I'm Chia. And guess what? It's our final day of the conference. It's just whizzed by. And we hope it has been a fascinating and revealing session for you these few days in Geneva.
Certainly has. I'm broadcasting live throughout the conference every day from our studio here at PAL Expo. It's really been our job to bring you the very best of Sibos 2016 Geneva.
Here on Good Morning Sibos, we preview our busy last day at the conference in the company of a panel of journalists.
And Talking Cyber starts at 10 o'clock. And this time you're going to see me down on the exhibition floor talking to delegates and exhibitors. And actually this morning I'm going to be reporting from the Swiss FinTech Corner. Lovely chocolates there, by the way.
At 11:30 we'll bring you the last of our big issue debates here at Sibos. Today it's all about the impact of technology forcing change across the banking landscape.
And at 1 p.m. we have our last lunch with Sibos. And I've got to warn you, it's a goodie with our Stephen. Yes, our game changer is Amber Case from Harvard. She is a cyborg anthropologist, and I haven't misread that.
No.
And we're going to find out what that means.
That was my first question to her. She's actually a real person, so the cyborg bit throws you off. Today, at a later time of 4 p.m., join us for Sibos Today, leading on to the closing plenary before we sign off and, of course, head to the Sibos party.
Party! Yeah. But you were out and about last night with my spies. Yeah, you were out with some of the crew. I'm glad you made it today. Now, you did have an early night, I hope.
Early enough, or early in the morning? It was nice. We went out, caught the bus just down to the city, a short 15-minute ride away. Found a very lovely, quaint little bar by the water. I can't recall the name, but it was an old building and just
I know where you were.
Drinks. You do?
Brasserie des Halles. I've probably ruined the French pronunciation of it. And indeed, and look, I'm very excited. You've got your show socks on today. We know it's the last day. Can we see your socks?
Let me see how high I can lift my foot.
Yeah,
okay, there you go.
So we have to pay you extra for that. That's very good indeed. Yeah.
Once in a while, you got to get the move. We've got the party tonight, so
indeed. I know the party starts now. Well, now on to the business of the day, and we're joined as ever on Good Morning Sibos by the editor of Sibos Issues, yes, the one and only Chris Hall. And we also welcome back Tanya Andreasyan, editor of Banking Technology. Welcome to you both.
Morning, guys. Welcome back.
Hi. Thank you.
So tell us, we're here into the final day of the conference. What's been the highlight for you? Chris?
Well, I enjoyed the big issue debate yesterday with Ginny Romasy and Sergio Amotti. Particularly interested in some of his comments as a guy who's spent he was telling about how he kind of started off in banking in the 70s. So someone with a huge amount of experience in he was talking about kind of using telex machines. We're talking about banking technology. So. His perspective on the kind of changing role of banks and the changing nature of risks for banks. He was pointing out that market risk and credit risk are no longer the big issue for him. It's kind of operational risk. So I thought that was a pretty interesting perspective.
And in fact, we had Dean Garfield on before, earlier on in the morning, who was previewing the show, and he was fascinating. Was he? He would imagine he was a fantastic moderator as well.
Yeah, no, he was very calm, covered the issues very well, and he's a charming guy who has managed to fit in Sibos around quite a lot of other kind of meetings in Europe. He's been kind of in Germany and in France talking to kind of politicians on kind of policy issues between the US and Europe on issues like data privacy. So a guy with a lot on his plate, but no, he did a great job yesterday.
And Tanya, for you, what were the key highlights?
Well, I really enjoyed their financial stability panel because there was a lot of discussion on how to restore trust, how to make sure that the financial crisis does not happen again. And there is a lot of theory, in how to prevent that. Whether that's going to happen in practice, that's a different matter. And I think some people were skeptical about that. And there was a little bit of talk about Brexit. And I know not the highlight of the conference, but there was a very good comment that at the moment, because nobody knows what's going to happen and how. So one of the panelists said that there are 9 circles of hell in Dante's
Oh dear, where are we going with this? Yeah.
And so we are now in the first circle of Brexit hell, which is limbo.
Yeah.
Right.
Very true, actually. Well, nobody knows what's going on in Brexit.
But
I'm
that
from the
paints
UK.
a rather bleak picture that we're only at stage 1 with 8 to go.
Yes.
You know, so.
But the other thing is, I'm really pleased actually that it didn't dominate all of the conversations, because I was hoping, I knew it wouldn't be a Brexit-free zone, but there's so much else going on in the world. So I'm great in a way that it was talked about, but then put aside, and other debates and issues, whether it was cyber, reg tech, or whatever, came to the
fore. In fact, we should ask, what are you both looking forward to today? Chris?
Well, I think, well, certainly the next session I'll be going to straight away at 9 o'clock is the one about how banks can learn from fintechs, and I know there's quite a running theme during the week, and I think it's a big panel session. Every time I look at the list, it kind of grows. They've got 8 or 9 different people. They've got people from Amazon, but they've got people from traditional banks as well. So that could be quite interesting. But it's about what element of the kind of fintech sector can banks really use? Is it the way that they experiment, the way that they kind of develop their products, the kind of running with lots of different patents and kind of those kind of side of things, rather than do you buy up fintechs that you work with, or do you kind of collaborate with them? So what's the approach there? What's the paradigm? So that's quite interesting.
Very interesting indeed. And just to prove it's live, Tom,
has magically appeared.
Fresh from a party, contributor from Forbes magazine. Tom, just remind us, how do we pronounce your surname?
It's Groenfeldt.
Lovely. Well, Tom, we've just been asking the rest of the panel, our wonderful esteemed panel of journalists, and what their highlight was from yesterday. So anything you want to pick up on?
Ginny Rometty was really interesting. Because everybody's been talking about digital, and she said, well, digital is kind of the very basic of what you have to do. Now I have to talk about cognitive computing, which IBM has been pushing with Watson. So I thought that was kind of an interesting challenge. And her interest in blockchain, I think blockchain is moving much faster than people thought it would 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay, and we were also asking what one might look forward to today. So what are you hoping to see and hear today?
Well, it'd be interesting to see if they make sense of this disruption thing, and or whether they just glide through with a bunch of cliches. But that'll be interesting. And one of the comments I heard about fintechs yesterday was people saying, are they just going to steal our IP? We go in and tell them what we do, and are they just going to steal it and go off? So there's a certain amount of distrust with...
It's got to be about co-opetition, hasn't it? And let's bring Tanya back in again now. I mean, when you look across the whole week, what do you think have been the most important themes?
Well, one of the top themes that we couldn't avoid, cybersecurity. Yeah. And in the light of the recent events and the ongoing problems, I think that was one of the main topics that everybody discussed. It was presented at the opening plenary, of course. It was the major point of the SWIFT CEO to speak about how we safeguard ourselves, how we should coordinate our efforts more, because of course there is technology for the good guys, but then the same technology is used by the bad guys, and they're just as well organized, they're just as well prepared, and they're not going to stop just because they tried with one bank, for example, and didn't succeed.
It seems like it's always playing catch-up at the moment, though, isn't it?
It is, and that's why I think it's very important to have coordinated efforts, so that to make sure that if something happens with one bank in one part of the world, the information is shared with everybody else and other participants of the market, so that they can safeguard, prevent, preempt, or at least look out for this kind of attack or...
Well, you know, this sounds like it's going to be an ongoing discussion, because as we continue to evolve with technology, there'll be that concern about the risks as well. So it's always going to be something we're discussing. I mean, what do you gentlemen think? Is this something we'll be talking about next year and even the year after?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's a permanent part of the landscape, really. I remember how when banking started to embrace e-commerce, and we said, well, eventually we'll just drop the E off the front of it, and it feels like with cyber, eventually we'll just drop the cyber. It's the way into most kind of organisations is not through the back door. It's across the internet, and we had I know that there was Bruce Schneier speaking yesterday from Resilience, the IBM firm, a kind of cybersecurity expert, and he was talking about we're connecting even more things up to the internet, and they could, your fridge, your car, etc., etc. These are just other ways in
and
to
Tom,
a network.
What do you think are the most important themes of the week?
I think that cybersecurity is probably one of the most, and some of the experts I've talked to sort of divide it between the criminal actors and the state actors. And there's some states out there that are just Russia, China, North Korea are the ones most commonly mentioned that are very sophisticated, and they can probably get into most of the banks. They certainly have managed to get into some of the political parties in the U.S., although that's probably not a hard target. But I think that is going to be a continuing issue.
Yeah, so it's a multifaceted issue, is there, when you said state and criminal sponsored as well. So let's take a look at the last few hours as Cybus, the last day. So what do you think this means for the banking calendar when we think about Cybus 2016? Let's reflect a bit. Tanya?
Well, I think Cybos is definitely one of the most important financial services events of the year for all the banks and for a lot of vendors. So looking back, we'll probably be talking about fintech and how it's impacting every single area of banking. And we are now, when it started being all personal banking, consumer banking, or some little thing here and there, now it's impacting wholesale banking, corporate banking, treasury departments, etc. So that, and of course, cooperation and collaboration, that I think was the main theme. Again, be it cybersecurity, like we discussed, be it regulation, be it the coordinated efforts between banks and technology providers. So, I think...
Chris, do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. But I think what it comes down to is that Cybus is a good opportunity for banks to really kind of assess their kind of reassess their value proposition. Talking to other competitors, talking to their kind of providers. I'll go back to a Motti yesterday where he's kind of pointing out how few banks actually can really kind of cover their cost of capital at the moment, and that in terms of their kind of balance sheet issues, they've all got problems to solve. And looking at working together or working with technology firms to kind of do that more cost effectively is what kind of Cybos is about, and I think it's very, very valuable from that perspective.
So those capital requirements really have had an impact, haven't they?
Oh, massive! They've kind of cut off whole lines of business, and banks have kind of withdrawn from certain markets, either geographically or and so it has been quite significant, and whole operating models have had to change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Tom?
I'd like to see a little bit more emphasis on regulators and proactive regulators. I think the English are really strong on this, but it would be interesting to see more dialogue with regulators and banks at this conference, I think.
Well, let's have a little bit of fun now, shall we? It hasn't all been about business. There's been plenty of networking. I know you had a cuddle with Kevin Keegan. I thought he was mine. I saw those photos, Tanya.
You had yours mine.
and so did quite a lot of other people.
I know. I don't mind sharing him for the good of the nation. So, Tanya, that was a highlight. I could see you look very happy.
It was.
What does Kevin mean to you?
Well,
We're going to feel a bit left out in this discussion, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you go again, you guys?
if you ask pretty much anybody in the UK, especially people who grew up there, they would say, oh, my childhood hero.
Yes.
And so all my friends are very envious.
Yeah,
I know.
It was a lovely
Put that
pic.
picture on social media. But very quickly now, we just talk about the closing party, because that's happening tonight as well. You all going to be hanging around and joining us for the, it's at the Cuckoo Clock. I think the Cuckoo Clock. See, I'm getting it mixed up, but I'm actually going to make a visit later on to find out what preparations are
I'm not
being
going to help him out, though.
Yeah, it's a bit cuckoo with me as well.
Well, it's the last chance to get to see people that you've been meaning to talk to all week long and you haven't seen yet. So.
Yes. In the Cuckoo Clock. There you go. Phew, I
What
think we
better
said it
way,
right.
a better place to do it, right?
And Chris, well done to you. I know you've been very busy with your team, so I'd imagine. Are you looking forward to a weekend off?
I certainly am, actually, but not before popping into the party, but also popping into a chocolate shop, actually, so I can get something for the wife and kids.
We need to go to Chocolatier Pasqui, the one I
Okay.
visited during the video that we showcased throughout the week at Cybus. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
all.
coming along. We really appreciate all your thoughts, discussions. It really has made the programme. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So let's take a break from business for the moment. And in this city of clock and watchmakers, I've actually been turning back the hands of time with a journey through Geneva's Old Town.
You've been just about everywhere.
I have.
Take a look.
A great place for a stroll in Geneva is the Old Town. It's an ancient maze of small streets and picturesque squares filled with great places to eat and historical sites. At the heart of the Old Town is the Cathedral of St. Pierre. 157 steps up its main tower gets you superb views of the lake with its jet d'eau fountain. Back at ground level, small bars, cafes and antique shops lie in its winding cobbled streets, narrow passages and hidden courtyards. Geneva's worldwide reputation for watchmaking can be seen everywhere, even in the flora. The parks and public squares are where the locals come to relax and play. Today, Geneva is home to more international organisations than any other city, building on its reputation for civility, stability and charm.
You know, on the way back on the bus last night, I had a glimpse of the United Nations office, but
Did
I think I
you?
might make a visit again because it was a bit dark. It was nighttime, so.
And you'd had a few woo-hoo.
But so it looks like a lovely city. I think I'm going to spend a day just to roam around. I've come this far.
Yeah, because you don't go back until the weekend, do you,
That's
to
right,
Singapore?
that's right.
So,
So
yeah, I
I've-
would do, because it's probably going to be a while till you're back in Geneva, so make the most of it. So
I will.
Has that given you some ideas?
It has, indeed.
Good.
I will visit some of those places you've put on the video. Well, we have a challenge ahead today as Sibos 2016 closes its business sessions in a wrap-up of the week at Innotribe. The final keynote speaker there is Dr. Douglas Rushkoff.
And he has promised to provoke and challenge all of our assumptions. So what's the session about?
Well, I spoke to him earlier to find out. Well, Douglas, welcome. I just have one question for you because you're doing the closing session for Innotribe. What can we expect there?
Well, I'm going to try to shake things up a little bit and talk to these folks about how we're using digital technology really to amplify and exacerbate all of the problems of a growth-based economy rather than really venturing out into more distributed possibilities. You know, the joy of the internet when it first came up in the late 80s, early 90s was that we were going to get a peer-to-peer economy and that we would be able to optimize our economy really for the velocity of transactions rather than the extraction of capital. Yet it looks like what we've done is the reverse. What we've done is really accepted the given circumstances of our economy as pre-existing conditions of nature. And we're building these, behemoth digital companies in order to establish platform monopolies in one area or another, rather than seeing, oh my gosh, we could break free of all that and have a really much better time with this stuff.
Okay, so it sounds like the joy has been lost.
Much of the joy has been lost. And the joy that was lost to the digital economy has now really spread to the banking economy too. If you look at the kinds of things that, say, Wells Fargo had to do now to try to create artificial or synthetic growth when there was none, that's the same thing that an Amazon does or a Google does or a Twitter does. And it's unsustainable finally.
Okay, because everyone's demanding growth.
Everyone is, even those little shareholders who have your stock in their retirement plan.
So what then? What next? How do we fix that?
Well, there's a lot of ways to fix it. First, come to the talk or buy my book, Throwing Rocks at the Google Bus, which really looks at how do we transition from a growth-based economy to a circulatory economy. How do you really increase the velocity of money so that you can earn the same dollar 10 times rather than $10 once? And that's not really rocket science. There's a lot of simple things you can do, from employee ownership of your company, what I would call a platform cooperative, to emphasizing dividends over growth, which then would, of course, need some policy changes so that we can tax dividends lower than capital gains and really reverse the incentive structure of our economy.
Is that too much of a change or too big a change?
No, it can be done incrementally, one teeny little step at a time.
But the problem is?
The problem is most of us are so scared about this quarterly earnings report that we can't think ahead 6-8 months into that deep future.
So that's deep future, 6-8 months, not even a year.
These days, it is.
Okay, so that's going to be a big cycle. Well, you know what? We look forward to the talk. Thanks so much for coming and speaking with us.
Thank you.
Well, he was a very interesting chap, wasn't he, Douglas? I
know.
could see you inspired by him and his talk.
A quick introspective, a different take on things, and I think that's always good, a fresh perspective.
Absolutely. Well, now to a colourful work in progress that's been created before our very eyes across this week in Geneva.
And we're talking about the Sibos artwork that's been slowly taking shape since Monday. So how has it progressed? We met with Vanessa von Richter, co-director of the Anouk Foundation, and Stephanie Gurnias of Swift to find out.
Today is day 3, and Guillaume Ozon is working on the piece about transforming landscapes, about banking, and putting it a bit into a context that is accessible for smaller kids. And Alexandre Levin is working on a piece of the landscape around Geneva, and that will go into an emergency home in Geneva to help create an environment that is more soothing and reassuring. It is a home where children are placed because the difficulties at home are too severe.
The paintings are fabulous.
Well, I think the artwork is great. It's very well representative of what we do. The colors are soft, but it's quite different styles, and it shows how we can listen to really the different demands of different people. We just got a fantastic prize. We got 40,000 euros to be able to do a project here in a special needs home in Étoile, and it's absolutely fantastic.
We are very proud to have reached this amount. It's just because the game on the Swift stand was very successful.
And it was a beautiful moment. It was a big, surprise to us, and we're very, very happy because now we can complete the project.
It was important for our CEO, Gottfried Lebrand, and our CFO, Francis Van Bever, to give this check to the association because it means a lot for Swift at Sibos.
Well, it's sad for us that Sibos is nearly over because it's been an amazing week, such an opportunity of awareness. A lot of people came to the stand, asked many questions, and it was really for us just an amazing platform and really interesting.
Cause as well. So well done to everybody for playing the game, raising brilliant money as well for fabulous Anouk Foundation, and it was wonderful to have the team there.
And in fact, folks can just take a look at the mural still up there, so if you're walking by the exhibition hall, do take a look.
Yeah, it's a lovely fresco. Well, we're now joined by Conny Dorrestijn, who's worked for more than 25 years in marketing and business development, really at the cutting edge of fintech. She's currently Vice President of Global Payments Marketing at FIS.
Her passion for diversity and inclusion of women in fintech has included pioneering work in Kenya, supporting and mentoring young girls through school into a working environment. And she joins us now. Good morning, Conny.
Welcome, Conny. And so what does Sibos mean to you?
Oh, well, there's two elements to that. Personally, this is my 25th Sibos, so it is a fixture on my annual calendar.
Yes.
And as we always jokingly say, it has a huge impact because all the preparations start way back in June. And so you really have to almost plan your holiday time around it. What it really means to me, I think it's one of the best events in the industry in that it has a tight audience. And because you have these membership type audience, you get very senior level attendees. And we always have very meaningful meetings. I mean, with FIS this year, we had nearly 200 meetings. And we talk about the topics that really matter to the industry today, like instant open, APIs, and anything real time. And so we've had a very good week so far. Very
Yeah.
pleased.
And we admire your commitment. 25 years. It must have
No.
started small. You must have seen it grown over the years.
Absolutely, yes, we talked about it yesterday. Sibos was much smaller at the time, and it was also the expo was much more like expo separate from the conference. And what I think Swift has successfully done over the last few years is really combine it more into a stakeholder event rather than there's the members in the conference and there's the expo. And what you see is that really the topics that circle around at the conference are very much also the talking points on the expo floor.
Well, we are talking about collaboration and connectivity, so it makes sense to bring everyone together.
Absolutely, and as the industry is converging into basically an open ecosystem, banks also see that is a cultural change you need to make, and so banks are opening up to discussions, and they don't look so much at us as vendors anymore, but very much as partners, because we so badly need each other to make this change.
So what is the discussions around payments at the moment? Where are we at?
Yeah, I think that the real vibe is around two elements. First of all, there's always the regulatory angle. And I always say, I'm a vendor, I love regulation because it creates budgets.
I love regulation. Quote.
No, but seriously, so regulation will force innovation. And a very good example is PSD2 in Europe, which basically forces banks to embrace this idea of an open and more transparent world whereby customers have true choice. And so that is really a topic that's on the shop floor now. And other countries are doing it because they see the societal change towards a more open space. So that's one. And the other one, I think, is instant is basically the new norm. It's no longer about real-time payments. Instant is everything. Instant gratification, instant, always on. Yeah. And it sounds very nice and very easy because almost, what used to be funds transfer gets sort of the same easiness and quickness as cash used to have.
Right.
It does.
But for a bank, the implications are very, very major.
Well, Conny, leave them wanting more, and you certainly have. So thank you so much for coming along today. Excited to say we're now joined by God himself, yes, the head of Sibos, Sven Bosu. Hello, Sven.
Hey, Sven.
Yeah. Lovely to have you here.
It's a pleasure. How are
So
you?
are we having a very happy Sven?
You're having a very happy Sven.
Yes.
Seriously, we had a number of delegates, which is unbelievable. It's 8,300, so that's massive. But as Conny mentioned earlier, what I did like was the discussions both on the exhibition space and on conference. They were really insightful. It's real discussions, real people talking together, trying to find ways to collaborate and to move forward together. So that was amazing this week.
And personal highlights for you?
To be honest, yesterday when we had the session with the CEO of UBS and CEO of IBM, that was amazing. I must say, Ms. Rometti has a presence on stage which is unbelievable, and she really brought insights to the entire audience. By the way, we had over 1,000 people in that room. So
Wow.
really good.
And in fact, lots of people have talked about that session, haven't
That's
they?
true.
So you're not alone there. Yeah.
So what can people look forward to today? What's your topic?
Well, we have, of course, closing plenary this evening with Monsieur Picard, who kindly landed his solar plane on time to be here. That's always very nice. The closing event, as you guys already mentioned this morning, around the cuckoo clock. I think the other one is if you haven't been to Innotribe yet,
Your
do
last
go
chance.
there today. It's the last chance. It is an amazing environment. It's buzzing.
But we have to ask, because we're curious, numbers as well.
Yes.
How many delegates have we had this year?
What's the figure?
8,316.
Yep.
Ooh. Wow.
Is that record breaking? Where does that
We're
fit?
the second biggest ever.
So larger than Singapore.
Larger than Singapore.
Ha ha ha. Beating
Okay.
you.
Oh well. Singapore's my hometown, of course.
Very quickly, let's
And
look
very quickly,
ahead.
yeah, look forward to Toronto. What can people expect there?
Well, it's a very different environment, but we already talked to the Canadian ambassador, and we have brilliant ideas around fintech. Fintech is not going to go away, so that is keeper. I think the Swiss lounge, as we worked here today, that's keeper as well. We will have a Canadian lounge. And other than that, I think we need to have you guys back as well.
Happy to be there.
So I'm writing the dates
That's
down
right.
now. Toronto,
We can
here
clock
I
up,
come.
because
Okay.
I'm not sure we can beat Conny. She'll be 26. Yeah, 26 at Sibos, but it's all right. Number 3 for me.
We're just actually, Sven, could you finish the show? We're just going to book our tickets to Toronto now.
That's
and there
right.
we go.
We'll do that.
Well, Sven, I know you're going to be at the closing plenary as well later on. So we look forward to having you. Sven, as ever, you've done a fantastic job for Sibos.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your support this week. And on behalf of everybody, thank you very much.
That's right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
guys.
Sven.
Yeah.
Conny as well. Thank you.
So So that was Good Morning Sibos. We're back with more guests and discussions throughout the day and preview all of the big conference sessions.
Well, straight after this program, Sibos TV coverage of learning from FinTech. Can we fail fast and learn fast? It comes direct to this screen from Conference Room 1. And Nadine and I will see you again shortly. Thanks for watching.
See you later.